been with this Viego in the jungle. Maybe I'm just over sensationalizing game number 1, but I know that this is a flexible pick, and they can obviously run with the mid jungle sort of support carry style that we tend to see. Now, GameWard, with their blind picks of choice, could have opted to match the jungle instead, are going to take some powerful picks that they want in their own right. The Ezreal down in the bot lane can just pick the Karma here if they found. Yep, there we go. Pick the Karma to
Here's where
show
it's going
up
to be
a
interesting for
safe
me.
bot lane.
So Smiley and Wagner, they played this Kalista lane, which we see if teams throw down the gauntlet of this Ezreal blind. It is something that we can see being picked in response to it. Kalista Renata, quite a strong lane. It would be interesting to see if they pair it off here. Yes, and we're going to see the Renata as well, maybe. No, it's going to be the Akali for now. That could be coming in the second ban phase, but Akali presumably could go both ways. Could go to Ronaldo, could go to Nuku as well.
Yeah, Nuku has played it so far. This split also has TP Ignite hovered, but that's not to say that it can't get changed around just yet. Chocolate so far, we've seen him play the Ari game. We've seen him play a Vex game as well. Vex versus the Akali specifically can act fairly similarly in the way that we saw it act versus the Vladimir. We'll see if that's going to be an option for them. Kindred picked up here, and maybe, just maybe, this Karma's a flex pick into the mid lane. Karma Kindred. Oh, we could see things like the Zillion. I know that, the Zillion Kindred combo is, we talked about it just earlier today, actually, in the ways that it can function. We've already seen one Zillion. Potentially we get to see a different one put into the mid lane. Just as a quick aside, I think that Zillion is maybe the most elo-inflated champion in the mid lane in the game.
I would agree with you in the sense of like you can just sort of do nothing and win. It's kind of whenever I get filled to mid, it's what I pick. You just do nothing, clear waves, buff your team.
Yes.
You are kind of at the whims of how good your team is able to be, but that is always the case. Talk to me about this Kindred pick. 12.10, is Kindred stronger? Is this why we're seeing it, or are we seeing this as a reactionary clause to the Viego?
Yeah, I think this is a great pick into Go's composition. Go have a lot of dive. Kindred very good versus dive because it stops the initial reset, specifically this matchup between the junglers. Whenever we see a Viego, that first reset so important. You're going to hear me talk about it for the next 7 or 8 weeks, so get used to it, everybody. The Viego is incredibly important at getting that first kill. If Kindred prevents that first kill coming through with the ulti, that's what you want to see.
Yeah, no surprise here as well. The game will take that Renata off the table. I think that was one of the dangers of them opting in for the Akali. They were not going to be able to get that hyper carry lane that you do see quite often paired up with the Kalista. It's going to be the Inax picking in, well, not Inax picking it, but Inax is the one that locks in that Ari blind here. And now Go going to have to round out that composition. Potentially, I would imagine with an engaged support, it's not going to be an Enchana. You want to play it with something aggressive, probably Leona.
And interestingly enough here, they're the ones that banned away Sion and Ornn, which I think that would fit into their composition quite nicely to start off and get that engage, get that dive going, because they are full committing to this dive right now. They're just saying, you know what, we're going to go Health of Leather, dive down into your backline and attempt to take you down. And with that, statement being made, I was expecting Ronaldo to take this Akali into the mid lane, and then you play for a more engage-oriented top laner. That appears to simply not be the case. They've banned away the Sion and the Ornn. They clearly have something planned to Silas. So double flexing, I suppose, here. If you were going to take Silas into the top lane, Sion and Ornn seem like weird bans, but I won't knock it.
Not Renekton again, surely.
No.
No, it's going to be Olaf. They're not going to troll me twice.
Surely not. GameWard. They know better. They know better. They watched Game 4.
Yeah.
And they went, we can't do it to Don Jake. It's simply not possible to lock Renekton on him twice.
I do quite like what Go's done here in terms of, I'm not entirely sure about how the Silas fits in here, but I like how they've opted into the Kalista Pike. It means it's going to be quite an explosive lane into the Karma. It is quite easy for the Pike to get bullied out in that level 1 to 2, but once you can find these hooks, find these engages, it could blow the game open, as we've seen it happen before. I also like the fact that we've seen Smiley on Kalista already. He's not necessarily using it to push the envelope constantly. It's more the case of they allow it to get priority and they build advantages from it. They're not necessarily pinning themselves to the win condition of getting the Kalista ahead.
It was, I think the way they did it in their first showing was similar to how we just saw LDLC take their win up against Solari, right? It was slow, it was controlled, but it was ultimately because they managed to find this slight advantage. And I think that this time around, the slight advantage is likely to come from the bot lane. And that's absolutely fine. That's not a problem if we're looking at it from that perspective. But I think that if they can go through that maintain that sort of ideology of, okay, we can pick a list in the bot lane to generate leads, move her around the map, and then eventually there'll be a team fight where she is just Jesus and has to be threatened and, given the credit as such, they'll just win the team fight.
Yeah, absolutely. I do like the fact that Silas in some way kind of can counter some of what GameWard's composition wants to do, for example, in terms of, you've got the Kindred ult, we're going to take it, we're going to utilize it for ourselves. I don't think it has quite as much utility as the Kindred ult does when you talk about how much dive that composition has. In terms of how these teams match up here, where are the focal points for both of the teams, Rude Dude?
Okay, so now we've got all the picks started up, meshed out correctly, right? Whenever there's a Callisto, we're expecting the focal point to be down in that bot lane. The issue right now for Go is they have a lot of volatile lanes. They've got carries on all three sides that are all going to want some sort of attention. This is a carry versus carry matchup top lane, carry versus carry matchup mid lane. The same can be said for the bot lane. Odds are, with Karma Ezreal, you're able to generate your own sort of semblance of advantage. If levels 1 to 2 go favorably for GameWard, they should be set up for the remainder of the game. And that top side, I think, is going to be our main focus.
Plant pots have crashed. We're going to be crashing ourselves away from talking to you just for a moment, and we'll be onto the game, but we'll just be going to a break for a brief second.
It's the match of the week.
Indeed it is. This is the most anticipated match of the week, obviously, because it's called Match of the Week. I don't need to fill the lines in for you there. I'm not quite sure why I have. But some interesting picks this game, Rude Dude. Kindred, I haven't seen this champion in literal donkey's years.
Oh. What is a literal donkey's year?
I don't know. Do donkeys experience years differently? Like, you know how like dogs do? Like one human year is a dog year?
I imagine so.
We get production. Production, can you look up how long a donkey year is, please?
It's all to do with their like gestation cycle, I think.
Really?
Not gestation, maybe that's the wrong word, but like how long it takes them to grow a baby. That's the word.
Okay, that's interesting. Speaking of growing things,
speaking of not growing animals. How do we talk about League of Legends here?
Speaking of anything that isn't what you've just said.
Yeah.
Going forward for Go. 3 human years is 1 donkey year, apparently, is what production's just said.
Okay, interesting.
They've actually, I was joking, they've genuinely gone and looked it up for us. That's lovely.
Absolute gamers. Thank you very much, production.
Talk me through jungle in terms of what directions these guys want to go to.
Yeah, okay, so we touched on this a little bit earlier on, that with 3 volatile lanes, it's going to be fairly difficult for our junglers to know where they want to go. I think that they're going to have a game plan and just stick to it and say, hey, you know what, this time, bot lane you're on your own, top lane you're on your own, yada yada yada. With where our junglers are starting, it looks like Kareem has some focus toward that top side, Akabane looking to focus potentially that bot side. It is worth mentioning that as Kindred, that ranged mid laner, or ranged jungler, excuse me, when you've got the red buff, you can try and go for some fairly cheesy ganks if you want to go level 2 mid, level 2 top, for example. You have that red buff, you have that slow, and you can potentially get away with things. Level 3 ganks also something that can come to fruition. So we will have to see whether or not that Kindred goes for it if Akabane is feeling particularly spicy. What you can actually see is that both junglers skipping their Krugs. They're going for faster clears to be out on the map quickly because they know their laners want to fight.
Completely. And we spoke about it being such a focal point for this level 1 to 2 mark for the Karma Ezreal lane. Smiley and Wagner have managed to reach that level 2 mark now. And how does this make the lane shift?
Yeah, and they also denied experience, which is crucially important as well. We touched on, and you touched on quite early on, that if Karma Ezreal can bully the lane out early on, then that's when they'll find the successes. Now that Pyke, excuse me, has reached level 3, Wagner has a lot more agency in this lane. It all comes down to that hook cooldown. If Wagner has Q available, if you can threaten it and try and poke out at Camilius, potentially force a bit of an all-in, that's when you're going to find a very devastating position as GameWard in this bot lane. This entire laning phase is now very much dependent on that bone skewer to see whether or not they can find any engages. When that's down, GameWard have agency. When it's not, Go are going to look to try and fight.
Yeah, absolutely. And you see Viego's making his way up to his top side now. And Mark has spawned on the top crab. Kindred not going to be able to get that one. Sometimes, it's a 50-50 whether or not you get it.
Both junglers on those crabs, right? We got that 5 camp clear. Now they're free to do what they want on Summoner's Rift. You can see Akabane spamping that top side of the river, saying, hey, the Viego has to be here. He's going to be stopping this camp from going down, or he's going to be stopping me from getting this mark. Nicely enough, able to move in and steal away a Krug camp. I don't know that Kareem's going to respond with that, but this also opens up a window where if Go overextend a little bit too much, yes, they've got that ward in the river, but they have nothing protecting them for this wraparound gang.
Yeah, this could be very dangerous. If Hook was found onto Inax here, they're not going to be able to get the wave in quite. Here comes Akabane, level 4 now. Flash onto Smiley. He's going to be getting stunned up in a second or so. One more E will do it, but Akabane's the one who goes quite low here.
And Ronaldo also burns the teleport to come down to this bot lane to prevent anything disastrous from happening. It's going to allow for this wave to get crashed in. Ultimately, Smiley wouldn't be able to push this in with the low health pool that he has. This teleport, actually not horrendous for Go. Does give Checolad, I imagine, a free base right now to kind of go back and do what he pleases. Or if he wants to go for that reset and, you know, push the wave in first of all, crash in a big wave and occupy Ronaldo for a little bit of time. Yeah,
he's going to be keeping Ronaldo a little bit tied in the mid lane as he goes for the slow crash here, but now Kindra's able to move towards his tier 2 camps. You speak about Kindred traditionally being a bit of a slower clearer. It's a bit harder. It's obviously easier to, quite easy to take these single target camps, but when you talk about these clumped up camps like the Wolf, like the Raptors, for example, you imagine that it's a little bit slower, but able to come out of this early game relatively even with the Viego.
And it does burn some of the spells in the bot lane as well. We talked about how Kalista Ike is going to want priority and is going to want to try and bully the Ezreal Karma. Without having Flash and the heal on Smiley, that is now made quite a significant amount more difficult. Milius now in the mid lane just to hover, make sure that...
He might be in some danger here as he goes in. Pike's waiting in the bush, he sees it, but it's too little too late. Camilius doesn't have flashes, so he's going to be getting taken out here. It's going to be Wagner and picking up first blood here.
Oh, and I love this. We've seen a lot from the LFL of support jungle pairings. It hasn't been so much from Go specifically, but they haven't had the real champions to get away with doing that. This time round, setting up for a real good roam squad, Pike and Viego is an absolutely lethal 2v2 if you're trying to throw down in the jungle. You showcase it right there. Camilius, having no flash from early on in the laning phase, gets punished on his return to the mid lane, or on his return from the mid lane. Akabane does respond with a Gromp, but it's also, you know, taken on the flip side, so it's an even keel of exchangements.
Yeah, he's going to get the one camp, does get spotted out by the ward, won't go for the further second. Viego is now taking his Krug camp. And I thought that potentially a further consequence of that would be that Inex gets zoned away from the wave. They didn't exactly pressure him out of there. They did set up some very good vision, though, which could now lead them to be able to get that early dragon.
If they can head toward it, the sort of nature of having 5 or 4 carries on both sides, setting up for those souls, setting up for those fights, is going to make it all that more important when you have the leads and when you've got those over.
Yeah, completely. We talked about how you were looking towards this top lane matchup. How does the Akali versus Jace function? When is the point at which, well, your main man that you hyped up, Nuku, when can he start to pop off? Is it at that level 6 mark, I'd imagine?
About then, you'd like to think, but you can see that Melonic has played incredibly safely with the build path. Not opting for a tier just yet, opted straight into the Hex Drinker and, you know, making sure that he's not going to get all in, get one shot by Nuku on that level 16s. Of course, if there's particularly rough trades, there's nothing to say that with the magic pen that has been built up and plus the ignite that is present for Nuku, that you can't still look for an all-in. It does also mean that there's an opportunity now for potential roams up to that top side. You can see Ronaldo trying to trade fairly aggressively in this mid lane. You can get that wave shoved in, and we see Kareem move up to that top side. This Jace is going to be incredibly susceptible to Viego damage because he has expended a lot of his gold on a magic damage shield that may not be expended.
Yeah, completely. Roam into the mid lane from Wagnerum here. Wagnerum's here to...
It's an important roam as well. Saves the night, saves the life.
I'm not quite sure. I think Ronaldo was pretty out there, maybe.
Well, Checo had flash and another ult. I'd argue that gap close, even though it looks like far, it's Ori. There's still that chance.
Well, fair enough. Maybe I'm, you know, that's my spatial awareness coming in a bit more weak. It's one of my weaker tacits of my mental ability.
You know, next time.
I'm better with numbers. No, actually, no. I'm better with words. That's why I do what I do, you know.
I'm actually better with numbers.
Were
you an English or a maths kid? I guess
I was an English kid. Like English and drama. That was me.
Big. That's why we're here now. Anyway.
There's not a lot of drama in this game. It's been a rather rather small time. Tepid is a good word for it, yeah. Only 1 kill apiece, 200 gold lead or so. Early Dragon obviously being picked up by Go is good. They're going to be moving towards the Rift Herald now. Quite spotted out here. Looks at the support. Vignorum has roamed up here. Karma has not, so this should go rather easily in the favour of Go.
This is peak Pike gaming right now. Can't find action bot lane. Quick, where's any fighting maybe going to happen? Rift Herald, an objective? Sure. Let me go over there. Let me see if I can find a fight elsewhere to be had. And unfortunately, still nothing being generated. Smiley can, at a pretty much moment's notice, force an engagement if you want to use that Fate's Call to, begin the engagement. Issue that they're now going to run into is that there's a lot of summoner spells back and available for GameWard, namely all of them. So they can very easily disengage a situation when they've got Mantra E plus double flash plus the Arcane. Oh, no, the other one. Arcane Shift.
Yeah, that's the one.
I nailed it. Smashed it, lad.
There's a lot of arcanes involved in League of Legends, so I don't blame you for that one. All very well.
Tier picked up though 4 in act, so slowly stacking up to that mid-game point. The 2-item spike of an Ezreal kind of fabled at this point in the League of Legends sphere. We have got the turret platings now being focused. And worth mentioning that this is a large lead generated by the Go bot lane, largely off the back of that gank and just laning pressure to get 2v2. There's some CS advantages for Smiley, those plating lead that is going to, start to stack up if the second one gets picked up. There's a fair amount going their way.
Yeah. I think Melonic's on quite a big wave here. It could be the case that Kareem sticks around, potentially see what Melonic does with this wave. If New Q plays it well, it could be the case that Melonic gets locked into a less than beneficial laning phase, but obviously the unfortunate nature of that Akali Q is that you can screw up your wave manipulation on occasion. Yeah,
and right now, Melonic he really likes some jungle assistance, I think, to just get this one crashed in. You can sense the tentativity that he's using or exercising in this top lane, making sure that he's not overextending, not really giving New Q that opportunity to get in range and find an engagement. Has a CS lead, he's actually doing fairly well up on this top side. That Hex Drinker has served him well, has now picked up that tier and is looking to build out a bit of an advantage, get into that mid-game power spike of a Jace as well.
Yeah, it's important. It does seem to be the case that can't quite see what the lane state is at the moment. I believe he might have just about crashed it. It's either that or it's just about locked out outside of turret. Either case, Akabane is in that top side now to help him if he has any issues. But that is going to mean that Viego, off the back of this Krugs and some potential bot prio, could set up some further vision for this second dragon that's going to be spawning in around 40 seconds or so.
And that would be the second one, obviously, for Go. They can start stacking that up. In terms of, late game power, where you want to see, either composition, who's pressured to get the soul, honestly couldn't swing it either way. Scaling options on both sides as Go now looking to at least force the flash from Checo prior to this Drake.
Yeah, Checo going to be completely fine there. It's a little bit of a threat from Vignorum, but he does have Kareem in tow as well. They're going to be getting some plates onto Ronaldo. He's very happy with that, and it does mean, as aforementioned, with that Drake spawning in around 15 seconds or so, the vision has been set up. He just might be moving down towards it, but it does seem to be the case that Go are going to have the ability to press the envelope on this.
Nothing wrong with that at all. You can actually see sort of item spikes currently in favour of GameWard. They've got completed mid lane item. They've also got completed bot item too. So if there was a skirmish to be had, you imagine GameWard would be able to come out on top of it. It looks like they're going to give it up and try and focus their attentions toward that top side of the map instead. Rift Herald not up for a couple minutes or so, but still worth mentioning that if Go look for a fight, they shouldn't be winning.
Ooh, Jekyll has been found. They do find a counter engage onto Ronaldo here. One more charm would do it. It was up in about 2 seconds or so. But Ronaldo is able to get away from that.
Okay, well, there we go. Just ult for ult. And the nature of Sylas versus Ahri matchups is everybody dashes, and it can become very difficult to keep track of what cooldown's actually being used. Right there, just a lot of spirit rushes.
It's going to be Akabane's red buff here. Smiley wanted to take that away. The Viego wasn't there, but Akabane comes in, says thank you for the leash, gets out of there, hops over the wall. Nice little victory for himself there. It's going to be the Cloud Soul, available for both teams. And what does this mean for both compositions?
More fighting, I imagine. You can get around the map and trying to generate numbers mismatches. largely what is going to be generating advantages when there hasn't been any engagements that have particularly gone either team's way just yet. So when you've got more agency in the jungle to move about the map, get about Summoner's Rift a little bit faster, that's how you're going to generate your leads in team fights, is by having those numbers mismatches. You know, with the Cloud Soul specifically, extra movement speed is always nice. It's never particularly game breaking unless you've got specific champions. None of
It's really
which...
nice for Ghost. It's really nice for Ghost team actually.
Yeah, it is. I don't think that it's particularly like game breaking. You know, it's not like an Olaf with Cloud Soul, for example.
Yeah. I mean, you sort of have 4 champions, maybe 5 at a push. I don't think you'd argue Kalista, that kind of utilize it quite well. So I think, you know, that's a relatively high amount of utility, at least opposed to like your standard game, you know. All right. You know, GameWard don't massively get a lot of utility out of it, apart from Ari.
Okay. All right, sure. Well, either way,
are you sort of is this your Renekton thing, Cloud Drakes? You just really hate Cloud Dragon?
No, I'm a big fan of Cloud Dragon. I don't think it's game breaking like some of the other Drakes. I think it's better than it's better.
No, you know, I'd agree with you. It's not game breaking at all.
Better in most situations than a Mountain, I'd argue. Like as a Soul, I'd like a Mountain. I'd like Cloud Soul more than Mountain. That's controversial as well.
Really?
Yeah.
That is really controversial. Speaking of things that are controversial, Lonic has to flash away there. Does have the Hex Drinker, but the impending threat of Nuq's R2 there is enough to make him flash away.
I want to change it to Ocean Soul. Ocean Soul is very overrated.
An extended trade in the mid lane. Shekolad has to walk away here. Conqueror is stacked for Ronaldo. Teleport did come out from Alonic as well. Go straight onto Vignerum here. So a lot of damage they found onto him. He thought he was safe for a second or so there. Has to flash and also dies.
Second blood, 15 minutes into the game, and it is going to be GameWard who set a lot of focus up around that Rift Herald about 3 minutes ago, finally yielding the fruit from the plants that they've sown and getting themselves what is likely going to be that Rift Herald plus the kill onto Vignerum. Currently 100% kill participation for the Pyke, both of the death and the kill on his name right here, as Inax maybe in a little bit of trouble. Kareem actually absolutely fine, and I'm going to let him live under this turret this time.
Yeah, I think important to note was the Karma was on the way. Ari obviously pivoting away from the mid lane. If a dive did happen, they would be there to respond. Kareem is going to do a very mirrored activity to what we saw Akabane do earlier. If this blue doesn't reset, he's going to try and take it for himself, but unfortunately reset means the Kindred has a little bit more time to get towards this.
Still a potential skirmish to be had here. No TPs, actually Nuku's got his available if they want to go for something very ambitious. But it's not going to be the case. Blue buff's going to reset and likely the end of those foray into the GameWard jungle. Overall, looking at where our sizable advantages are, you have to draw your attention to that jungle. 40-35 CS differential between Akabane and Kareem. Akabane has done a very good job at picking up farm and getting himself the lead in that aspect. Completed Kraken Slayer picked up. This is going to be your second hyper carry in the late game, right? Ezreal can be a very large damage source, and if you take him down, great. Always got that second point to go for, and I think this is once again a great point to mention. How they're going to interact with one another in case people missed it from the draft. As a reminder, GameWard's composition is all about denying the first kill coming through, where they're looking desperately to dive deep into the enemy's backline, and into a Kindred ult. It's going to be very, very difficult.
I think it's also important to note the level of poke that this team has with the Chase and the Ezreal synergizing up means that if they can kind of, like you say, temper that initial first one shot, they can do so much damage. That means that unless Go really get that first kill and really get that ability to find their way into these team fights, they're just going to get outpaced and kind of out-tempoed in some of these late, extended trades or whatever.
Yeah, their damage is much less situational. The situation that GameWard can do damage is anything outside of, anything up to and including 1,000 units, where we look at Go's and theirs is limited pretty largely to within 500.
Yeah, they're going to get the first turret here as well. Kareem's trying to get around the side here. Teleport does get primed here by Nuq. We've seen him in these teleports. We've seen it in these dragon fights before. Kareem does ult in here. Nuq goes in. E gets here. R2 is going to be ready here. Ultimate does come out in response though. It means no one's going to go down just for a second. Camilius is the one that goes down. Nuq almost goes down as well. Vignerum. Here comes Smiley. He's flashed forward. Gets charmed though. Ronaldo on Ko. Here comes Kareem. It's going to be a stun onto Shekolad. Can he find his way out of here? No, he can't. Pyke ultimate comes out in response. It's 2 kills, but they do manage to stop the Soul win condition that Go were building.
stop, like you say, with that soul having been the main objective, I suppose, for Go, stops them from being able to secure it. The late ulti in here from Kareem, not quite able to get there in time, and then Go, actually able to find a fight here. I really didn't think they'd be able to get anything from this. As soon as this Lamb's respite came down, I was kind of like, oh, well, maybe not going to get too much. But they keep chasing, they keep going forward, and they're able to chase through. Like I say, with this cloud tile, more fighting means that they can close that gap quite nicely, quite easily. Checolad does fall here off the back. Smiley opted into just flash slowing with an auto attack, which, as a Callista sometimes can be very useful, was right then, can be a bit wayward other times.
Yeah, completely. I mean, in terms of the trade, Drew, dude, getting those 2 kills in response for kind of delaying a win condition, do you think that's worth for GameWard?
No. No, I don't. I would have much rather seen them not die and not give the kills over in then exchange for a Cloud Drake. Now, this is going to be, again, maybe a hold. Okay.
It's going to be
flash from Ronaldo, but that's all that there was. I would argue, and this is something that I don't know that many people will. I've heard one person admit to this, that they will give Cloud Soul so that they can win at an Elder. I think that that's something that maybe GameWard could have opted to this game.
Yeah, could have done. I don't know necessarily you want to do that this game, because this isn't. I feel like a lot of the time, as we've said, Cloud Soul not necessarily the most beneficial soul to get, but it does actually utilize. It does give quite a lot of utility to over to this Go team. You maybe don't want to give that quite over to the Akali, to the Viego, to the Pyke as well, the Silas. And it's not exactly the best, but you can maybe see that being a plan. But I don't think you entirely want to do it.
No, exactly. And that's why, it's very rare that I think that anybody's going to even admit to giving Soul. Just a statement in itself, giving Soul, nobody really wants to do that. Nobody's plan is ever to concede the first 4 dragons in a game, and then, try and flip for an Elder fight that you can sometimes win, sometimes don't.
Well, Lana's going to be walking into Kareem here. Here comes new Q. Kareem never really pulled the trigger there. That was quite strange.
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head with that. If Kareem goes for the stun to open up, I think that fight goes entirely differently, and you probably end up catching the Jason burning his flash at the very minimum there. So a little bit mismatched on the timing, I suppose. Not quite sure what they were synced up to doing.
Yeah, it's a shame. I mean, obviously the tier 1 does go down, but there was a kind of heading in that direction anyway. Would have been nice to get the additional flash, like you said. But in terms of pressing the go button for Go, they have been doing it thus far, but this could be a bit of danger. Smiley does a little bit of a nice movement there to dodge out from the charm. It means the Shekolad goes down. Akabani has the ultimate available, but is not going to have to quite use it. They do find Smiley, but some very good movement dodging the charm there. It means the Shekolad does go down as well.
1-for-1 in a 2v4. I'll take that every day of the week. They were in no man's land right there, had no business finding a kill in the first place, and the fact that they get one, certainly going to be a successful venture for Go right there. Not expected to find a kill in that situation whatsoever. But we're still at this game now where there's nothing really to separate our teams, right? There's a couple Drakes either way, there's a couple towers either way. Gold is pretty much exactly the same. I wonder if we can toggle gold so that we can get a better idea of where the gold is placed, who we need to be looking to be the carry for either team. So I imagine there's going to be that discrepancy between certain roles, and then overall it's evening out. We can test the production to see if they can toggle the gold for us.
Hello, production, wake up.
Nice, okay. Okay, you know what? We'll have to theorize. We'll have to surmise our own right.
Well, just do, they've basically just returned your question by saying, listen, Rude Dude, do your job. Come on,
yeah,
some numbers here.
Exactly.
Where's the gold?
You asked me what the year of how long a donkey's year is at the start of this game. They've done their work. Overall, I think that the biggest place that you can see the lead is a kill and an assist for Akabane versus just a couple of assists and that big CS lead that's mounting in the jungle. That is probably where we're looking at as the big disparity that is in favour of GameWard. Bot lane, I imagine, is where Go have their advantage.
Yeah, completely agree. There's going to be Milana getting caught out here by a Pyke Cook. He does manage to get that clip shield there. Ronaldo gets charmed, though. He's going to be in Zhonya's now, but it is going to be the case that he's going to get taken out in a few seconds or so. Everfrost manages to take him out there. New Q. Potential counter engage here. Doesn't pull the trigger just yet.
GameWard is available. As a unit, every single fight, they are 5 people stacked on top of one another. Really trying to get max value out of the mantra shields from the Karma, making sure that if somebody gets engaged on, Kindred is there. They will secure themselves the second dragon now. They have to try and get back to this mid lane to defend that turret.
Should be the case. He should be able to walk through this choke without too much of a concern. It's an aggressive E from Unax. Might be a little bit dangerous into the champions facing in front of him, but he's able to get away with it for now.
Yeah, just barely able to, maneuver to safety. And yeah, I think that, by and large right now, we're just waiting for that one explosive team fight. We're at 23 minutes in the game. This is one of those matches where we may just see a Baron randomly taken and the game explode wide open within the next, couple seconds or so.
Ooh, Inax gets it. He says, thank you very much for the blue buff. I believe that was blind as well. So rather impressive from himself to get that away from the long-range blue buff take by NewQ.
That's pretty beautiful. Brutal.
I think interesting to see is that Kareem is keeping up in levels despite what is quite a massive farm disparity.
You're not wrong. And I think that, slightly annoying to jungle rubber band XP, but also the way this Viego is building it on. This isn't to do with levels necessarily, but another good point. Melonic?
Might try and charge forward here. EQ does not land. Can have the Q available in a few seconds. A few more Ws. Flash forward. Oh. Stasis. One more E will do it. Melonic R2 can't quite find the timing. Q will find him over the wall. You thought it was slightly too slow range, but he does get it. It's a solo bolo in the side lane. Melonic onto NewQ.
And in games like this, those solo kills can be very impactful. You could see across the map. Go really trying to aggress across all three lanes. You can see that Ronaldo forced the turret rush from Checolad. They're pushing very aggressively into this top side. But a kill like that just stops all of your momentum, kills it across the rift. GameWard now, they don't have vision on this Baron, and they're kind of beelining it through the jungle. They could get caught out here.
Absolutely. Akabane is going to need to press that ultimate, but he can't quite do it. It's a very good setup. We spoke about how Go as a team stylistically struggled around the Baron area. They start it too preemptively sometimes, but now they found that very important kill that means they can maybe set up around it. They maybe look for a further pick. GameWard don't know that they've not started it yet. They might walk in a bit too aggressively here. Ronaldo flashes forward, finds Melonic. Kalista fake call calls him back before the pike hook can be found here. Melonic's found a return kill. They found 2 return kills. Melonic is not dead. Yes, he is quite at the end there. But here comes NewQ. What can he find? R2 procs the Hex Drinker from Inax there and finds him in the end there from Smiley. But slightly too aggressive from Go there. They have the setup. We spoke about how they can be too eager around this area, and GameWard respond.
Yeah, they look for the pick, they look for a fight, and somehow when they're down in numbers, GameWard come away with the win. They focus too much onto Melonic. The Hex Drinker really found its value right there. Just barely limping away on double-digit HP time and time again. I feel like there must have been a misexecution from Go, because the time when Melonic was walking away, he had Ren stacks in him. And, either they got called a little too early and then you had to re-amp up the damage, or the opposite way, you just didn't get time to hit it. You get that initial first kill, that team fight again looks so incredibly different. They found the window to go for the fight. So let's have a look, see what happens.
So the Pike Q is out. It looks like Pike flashes forward to get that Q and then immediately gets pulled into Fate's Call, which I think would have meant Melonic went down slightly earlier. Ronaldo has to stay still in that Ezreal ult, which means that NewQ does not really have anyone backing him up here when he gets charmed out of Shroud. This is a real problem. We spoke about this as a point. Like, Go being a team that is way too eager, doesn't set up around the Baron, and can sometimes really look rather, impatient around this objective. They find the pick, they turn towards it, and they try and find a fight that ends up going really badly for them.
I'd argue that was just bad execution. I really like the play from Go. They just failed on the play. The Rent came through a second too early. The missed communication on the Pike Fate Seal, or the Fate Seal from Kalista, and Kareem never used his ulti in that fight either. If you get the reset with that, you can very easily just one-shot the Jace. And like I say, I would argue that the play itself was actually, what they wanted. It's more so just been poorly executed. They're now going to go back to that Baron. Not going to give themselves the opportunity, and it looks like their turning is just all they're after.
Yeah, it's going to get spotted out now. Goes to about 6k, but does get dissuaded by that Ezreal ult. Teleport has come in from Melonic. We spoke about how that solo kill in the side lane can turn the tides of these games, and this is something that I wanted to bring up from the point that we brought up earlier. Once you get to this poke level where Ezreal has 3 items, and as well as the Jace, if Go don't find these early engages, then it becomes really a problem. But the problem is now that Inax has pivoted towards a Dragon, and Team Go have started the Nash. They're not taking it that quickly.
Yeah, so this is free for GameWard to get that Baron, and for the Dragon, excuse me. Go are two-manning this Baron. Remember, Kalista stacks.
Going quite low,
it's not easy to secure.
Gone to about 4k. GameWard kind of handshake the Dragon for the Nash here, and this is exactly what Go would have wanted.
I mean, this isn't quite what I said. I said that teams might just randomly take the Baron without the other one knowing. They kind of did that in the face of GameWard, and GameWard were like, yeah, cool. Go ahead. Cloud Soul Point in exchange for the Baron. Not quite what I was anticipating would be their maneuver, but now we have to see what Go can get with this. They have themselves the Baron. They've got a lot of turrets around the map to go and take. There's 3 turrets outside the base. Let's see if they can secure them. Let's see if they can build that gold lead out to something more tangible than just a 1k advantage.
And I don't think I would be remiss in saying this, Rude Dude, but I think this is a very crucial error from GameWard here to prioritize that Cloud Dragon. Going to be going for an engage here. Everfrost onto Smiley means he gets locked up in place here. It's a very good play here with the team coming out on the map. Don't have the reset vision. They find a very good pick here.
And ultimately, argue what we like about the misstep around the Cloud and the Baron. If you find a pick like that, it kills all the momentum once again that Go have. Just these slight missteps. You know, it was Smiley then, Nuke got picked up a little bit earlier on, which killed their momentum around the top side. And even if you end up with these really crucial missteps that, you know, Nuke and Smiley are making, you still have this Baron. We need to see what they can do with it. With that death timer, they're probably only going to have a minute of effective pushing power on it. So let's see what they can get to.
Yeah, completely. It's interesting to me that they do, we keep going on about it, but it's interesting to me that they do prioritize that potential soul condition. I think it's more the case they thought they had a bit more time than they might have otherwise had. Obviously, into that Kalista, the Rend, means that once it gets to around 2k, you can coordinate with the jungler, goes down rather easily. I think just a bit of an indecisive play from GameWard, which is, you know, in contrast to what we've seen, they've been rather decisive throughout this game.
Yeah, they always, like we said about GameWard, just as a whole, they understand what the enemy team's win condition is and what how they best stop that from happening has always been their best way to go forward. You know, thinking of their own lose conditions and playing to them and not letting them come to fruition. Now, obviously, staring down the barrel of a Baron, it looks like it's not going to get all that much value. We have maybe one wave of push to go for, and the likelihood is that they may lose a tier 2 turret in the bot lane, but GameWard have really weathered that storm. They have prevented anything dangerous coming from that Baron. Hold with bated breath as Inax steps up a little bit, but it's not anywhere near close to being dangerous right now. And we're going to default back to that game state that we had maybe 5 minutes ago, where not a lot is happening. The game state largely even, everybody fairly even on gold, and the later we go, the more impactful these slow one pick style kills begin to matter, because now we're at this point where one pick probably means Baron, probably means a Dragon, and when we're 5 Drakes deep already, that Dragon could be a Soul, it could even be an Elder in 5 minutes time. Just have to wait and see who it is that makes these missteps, and for the most part, that has been Go.
Yeah, absolutely. I think what you're saying is very important to note. For me, though, an important thing is I think a lot of these waves are just going to be ping-ponged until a certain point. The next point of contention on the map is in 1:30. GameWard quite comfortable in the sense of they've kind of thwarted the attempts of the Baron power play from Go, and now going to be able to set up vision, move towards these items, get their last reset in, and then play for that soul.
Now, hopefully, they can move forward, and if they get that soul, set themselves up quite nicely. You know, we'll start to see some teams making indentations to the map itself. Right? We look at the turrets that have been felled. No inner turret has gone down yet. This game has been fairly slow-paced overall, and for the most part, we'll have to see sort of how far ahead either team can generate. Sumonic gets picked and not actually taken down. Flash forced. Very important cooldown for this sort of impending couple of minutes of high action, with a Drake spawning in 40 seconds. Baron spawning not too long after. Interesting that it takes them, you know, till now to get those Drakes, but hey, it is what it is.
Yeah, absolutely. It is still outside of the Baron. You would have thought that maybe some of this push would be thwarted slightly by the fact they don't have it. They're still able to press the issue in that regard, getting that top tier 2, getting that mid tier 2 as well. They're going to have position. Expecting to see, yeah, Ronaldo's going for that reset now. Dragon coming in around 20 seconds or so. This is the time where you want to be setting up. This is your fight. Eyes on Chocolate. Can he recreate that wonderful flank from yesterday's game and find that crucial pick? It's going to be the case that they're going to need to poke out a lot. And for Go, they're going to find a pick. They're going to have to find that pick as well, because once you get into these extended trades, that Kindred ult coming down, it's going to be so difficult.
It's so slow to get here. This Drake can get melted. It's not a Baron. It goes down very quickly. Kareem ready to go.
Ronaldo has the ult, tries to find Chocolate. Chocolate's out of the fight. Kareem's in the back here. Kareem stalls it. It's the third dragon for Go here, and it's go time. Ronaldo's found Chocolate. Chocolate goes low, but he's not low enough. Kareem is in the fight now, but he's going to get him chunked out here. Pike found Chocolate on the back end of this. And although it looked messy, Kareem is your hero for this fight. He manages to steal the Drake away. Ronaldo's gone over the wall now. He goes into stasis. Vignerum is going to need to find an ult here if he can. Akabane has ultimate as well. Lamb's Respite, can it stave Smiley? He's not able to use it just yet. Use your ultimate, Akabane. Doesn't have to quite do it yet. It is going to be Melonic that gets taken out there. I think it might be.
This is a very big turning point. It doesn't look like they've got the tools to end the game. Nuke probably can run enough interference, but this is going to be complete control around the Baron. And they can likely start it up themselves. Nuke has got ult. He can make a bit of a play here.
Nuke can. Now, Akabane still has ult from that previous play. He's utilizing it for the last second or so.
Oh.
Is it bugged whereby I can't see it?
He's just styling.
He just doesn't have it? What's happened there? Observers, can we check? Does Akabane have ult?
Just didn't use ult. He didn't use ult. That's all it is.
Really?
Ult's still up. Didn't use it in the fight. Got engaged on by Nuke. Nuke finds it and just sets himself up to potentially have turned the tides of this next couple minutes of play. You know, look at this. He's never using it in this entire engagement. Kareem comes in, steals away this Drake, and important things to look at are your top side of this fight. Chocolate, you know, zoning off a large portion of Go. And you do think potentially just to a good enough amount of success, but unfortunately gets chased over the wall. Vignerum uses the ulti to stop the disengage and finds actually a reset here, which sort of leads Go down a path of thinking we can go for a little bit more. Ronaldo goes just a little bit disjointed from the rest of the team. Nuke has to go back to base and isn't ready for the engagement. But they don't quite have enough damage. They're not quite ready on all fronts. The Karma, the double marksman, is enough to get through this team fight. And yeah, Varney not ulting at any point. Maybe. I don't know.
I think it was an observer bug at that point then.
Okay, I can't tell. Never mind.
Yeah, because it looked very much like it was available, but you know, it's just Riot's client being a little bit strange. It does happen on occasion. Doesn't have the ultimate available. You would have thought he would have used it here, but it doesn't. And it's going to be Nuke picking up a kill here, but it's taken out by an axe.
Apologies either way. If that Kindred ultimate was off cooldown, then I do sincerely apologise, Akabane. That's on me.
I'm the one who brought it up. It's on me, Rude. Don't worry about it.
It does not matter. Either way, the game state largely unaffected by that fight, Jake. Unfortunately, we've seen these skirmishes. They've gone either way time and time again. I do think that Nuke's play taking down Akabane was actually very important because it stopped the Baron from being able to go over, right? Yes, there was a numbers mismatch, but I think the fact that there was no smite was enough to deter GameWard. And what we're likely going to head back to is another 2 minutes of respite while they all sort of farm up, keep themselves nice and happy. You know, we've got certain carries reaching max items, but ultimately it's going to be that exchange around a dragon, around a Baron, to see who comes away. These late game objective map moves, who comes out on top.
Explain this one to me, Rude Dude. Prowler's Claw Israel. Both teams dancing around each other, not quite finding that. Should be the point now we start to see the Jace get some poke here. Yeah, Prowler's Claw Israel. Talk me through that.
You're not using it for the active, you're using it for the lethality stacks.
Oh, Nuke gets charmed here. He goes into stasis, but he's going to be so low. Can he find a W here? No, he can't. He takes a step too far forward. Thought himself rather safe to the Shroud, but he gets picked off here.
Yep, really good stuff from GameWard, and that likely, like we said, the later these games go, the more important these picks prove to be. It could just be the Baron being started up. TP from Melonic means that they're going to have all 5 members knocking about this Baron, and they don't have one of their massive team fighters to dish out the damage. Right now,
you can see from Go. Yeah, absolutely. Smiley's gone towards that bot lane turret. They're already conceding it.
Getting away with the Baron then, and ultimately a second misstep for Nuke. That's 2 this time round that has cost his team quite dearly. The first time it was momentum in the top. This time round it's much more costly. It is that Baron that's been taken away. But it looks like Go, they're setting up a bit of a pick. Remember now, GA available for Ezreal. If he gets if he is the target, then he's going to have that second life revitalized in his life form. And see, cautiously, Melonic he checked that side brush. Will he check this brush on his way in?
Is he going to fall for the trick that Akabane did earlier? He does get the Q down. He gets stunned, though. He has a stopwatch available, but he doesn't quite find it. Kareem gets a reset here. It's a lot of damage in response. Ezreal's come up massively. Ronaldo, can they find him? Kareem, he goes down rather low.
New Q.
It's going to be a return Q from New Q. He goes into the backline. R2 is massive, but Inax is still alive. Has Guardian Angel. It's 2 kills for the side of GameWard, but 3 for the side of Go, and they're going to be able to move towards this soul that we spoke about being so good for them.
Akabane has smite. There's no smite available for Go.
He has ultimate available. Lambert Spike goes down now, but Inax is getting stunned up. Inax finds the E. He finds a Q. There's a Lambert Spike in response from Ronaldo. Inax, what can you do here? Can you come up huge? GA is down now. Ronaldo has to find Inax after this. Inax, do you have the Q? Do you have the E? Yes, he does. It's an auto in response from Smiley. And at the end of all of this, it's a 4 for 5 in favor of GameWard and the soul that goes over to them.
There is nothing to separate these teams. Nothing in any given fight. 1 kill is the difference. And every single skirmish, every single exchange comes down to the absolute wire. This time round, it's Go that come out on top. Smiley uses the GA. Able to come out with the Cloud Soul as well. Melodic gets caught here to start it all off. You did the right thing. You just needed to wait for your Q. The reset comes through. New Q. Absolute hero plays to keep this fight from going so far off course. Comes through, takes down Camilius, takes down Chocolad, puts enough damage down to force summoners out of Akabane and Inax. And then this chain fight afterwards. You look at this, okay, 2v3. It's not going to look easy, but you have double marksmen. Smiley steps forward, ramps up, unemboldened by the damage that would come his way. Rend after Lamb's Respite, and then Ronaldo, the second one. And it's not over. Trade of deaths between the ADCs. GA's come through. Ronaldo steps up, face tanks, makes sure that Smiley is able to at least have some semblance of health. And just enough damage, just enough members for Go. Secure the Cloud Soul, but not secure the game, Jake. We're 38 minutes into this game. We just had a massive team fight. The game's still going.
Still very much active in here right now. 40 minutes. I believe this is the longest game that we've had all season. And it is going to be that Cloud Soul picked up by Go. We spoke about how useful this is going to be in terms of enabling them with that ultimate. With those ultimates. And now a scary God, I'm losing my words. It's because the game has gone for so long. Scary precipice that now GameWard are facing down. They're not able to find some of the successes that you would expect them to have with their composition going into the late game. We spoke about how important it was for Go to be able to go forward and find these kills, but Lamb's Respite not being utilized entirely in the right ways means that Go are being able to find quite successful team fights, especially from these death brushes that they're setting up.
And I want to take a minute, whilst we've got, 2.5 minutes on Baron, 4 on the Elder, to commend the LFL for picking the best match for Match of the Week. Out of all of the 10 games that we've had so far this week,
wow,
this one tops it quite easily. In terms of action, in terms of content. Exactly.
Are you not entertained, LFL English, as we're seeing this 41-minute back and forth? It still could go either way. There's still everything to play for. Elder Dragon is spawning in around 3 minutes and 30 seconds. And honestly, we're rattling down to the final team fights of this game, if not the final team fight.
And to me as well, certain amount of vindication that I was like, well, this game just goes either way depending on who plays the team fights better. So far, it has just been everyone playing it to within an inch of their lives. The missteps that we're seeing are coming from isolated incidents that are then, stemming into these big team fights. We've so far seen Melonic step an inch too far forward. Nuke has happened a couple of times where he gets picked out. And there's only so many times where we can say these picks later on mean so much more. Because a pick at this point in the game, if it leads to a big objective, those big objectives are tending to mean the game would be over anyway.
Yeah, completely. Can't really reiterate much more. Beyond what you're saying, it feels like we've said it so many times that these picks can mean so much. We've seen it be the divisive factor in a lot of these team fights. Now it's the case that both teams very nervous. They don't want to be the ones to make a mistake. It is that crucial part of the game now. But you don't want to be spectating from beyond the grey screen as your team struggle without you. Teleport does come out to keep that tempo on the map.
Everybody just resetting GameWard back to their default. 5-man on top of one another. Make sure there's no Viego reset, there's no Pyke reset. This Kindred has so much power in the late game to prevent Vignerum, to prevent Kareem from making their plays and making their champions have the most important impact. I want to quickly draw your attention to the bot lane, yeah, because Nuke and Ronaldo, they're a bit isolated here.
They're a little bit. They do manage to get that turret, and they're going to walk away here. Ultimate does land onto Ronaldo, procs the bone plating. Akabani's chasing, so is Inax.
Cloud Soul, really important right there. They've got the Cloud Soul. If they wanted to get away, they've got that little bit of extra movement speed. This is the difference maker that they're utilizing, and now they're going to go right back to that bot lane. The Baron just spawned. They've got 3 people taking it on the other side of the map. If they don't have an answer, they've got a wave down here, and all Go have to do is just play for time.
Oh, here though, Ronaldo and Nuku, they've stuck around here. They found Chekolad. And it's not going to be Nuku going down. This is disaster for GameWard here. Chekolad coming out of base here didn't realize quite that the 2 people here, the 2-man unit of Karma and Ezreal, have come to stop this. Ezreal has found Akali on the back end of that. Here comes Smiley. Smiley's going rather low. Melonic has this Guardian Angel available to him, but the resets are coming in for Kareem. Here he comes out of GA. It's going to be a W out of Guardian Angel. It's going to mean that they find Melonic here, and a disaster from Chekolad means a translated victory on the other side of the map.
Yeah, they take advantage of the 2v1. GameWard just stepping a little bit too far forward. Ronaldo and Nuke do what they need to.
They're going to go for the game route, dude.
It's the bot lane versus the bot lane here. There's an extra X factor of Kareem. A TP through from Ronaldo. 2v4. Inax and Chameleus, can you defend?
Inax and Chameleus, hold your breath here. Can you win it for GameWard? Can you stop the onslaught of Go here? As in rather anticlimactic fashion, they've not gone for it. They're rather going to be opting in for the Elder Dragon. Sorry, guys, it's not going to be the final stand that we quite thought it was going to be.
Oh my word, so close. They should just get this Elder. They can burn this down with Smiley, and this should just be the Elder. We'll re-temper our expectations, slow it back down once more. But there's a Baron on the other side of the map. The likelihood is Smiley probably wants to get help.
Comes Checo, gets the flash out from Ronaldo.
All these trades, all these exchanges.
It's going to be rather difficult for them to turn towards this Baron. And be the case that only 3 members can potentially keep off the 4 if they do go for it. Now with this Elder now, they're going to have to wait out a lot of time here. Both the inhibitors available is going to mean that if they want to go towards this Baron, it's going to be difficult for the enemy team to contest.
All right, I think they've largely done it here. Go. They get the Elder, which all but ensures them getting the Baron. It would be suicidal for GameWard to try and fight up against the Elder. That's the prevailing consensus around Elder Dragon. You don't fight when the enemy team has got it. They're likely going to have to give up the Baron. With 2 inhibitors down, giving over Baron is very, very dangerous. It means that you have to take that one crucial last-ditch fight on the top side of the map, where you go into and you pick up the final turret on that top side. It is likely going to be what Go opts to. But what we need to remember, the strengths of the composition that GameWard have. They have got so much poke, they don't need to engage with Go if they can stay at a far enough range.
Completely, and this Baron is going to be going down rather low. You can see from Team GameWard, they are just clearing out a lot of these side waves. They're not really going to be able to have much of an answer.
I saw him press W and absolutely rock it. I actually, it's worth mentioning, Vignerum just hit level 16. It didn't matter. The way Pyke's ult scales, actually with champion level, not ultimate level, in terms of the damage that it does.
Yeah.
He should have 4 points W, honestly, at this point.
They're going to be walking in here with the Elder Dragon, with the Baron primed, and this could be the beginning of the end for Team GameWard. They fought a very good fight. They've come up short in a few of these team fights, and now with these crucial objectives coming down, it is the answer that they're gonna. It is many answers they're gonna have to put up to the opposition of Team Go. They don't quite have the waves available.
Yeah, they haven't prepped that top wave, so they can't get that third in hit. They can't pretty much ensure the game for them. They are going for this more brute force style. We have the Elder. We want to fight you now. It's got about 30 seconds till it elapses. And you can see Kareem getting poked out here. Ezreal, True Shot Barrage came through, the Empowered Shock Blast as well.
How much longer do they have to survive here? It's not very long for this Elder buff. If they can survive any longer, 15 seconds is the call here. Kareem's trying to find it. Wagnerum's gone in huge, but he's been caught here. Elder buff does go down to Melonic. Lamb's respite does not save many, but this is the time. This is the time for Go to be able to capitalize on what they've gotten here. Elder buff is going to mean a lot, and they have done it in the end. It's your game of the week. It's Go coming out of the gates now. 3-1 to equal up the tide at the top of the table. And a massive, massive turnaround. They get the Elder, they get the Baron, and they turn the game on its head.
Wagnerum just said he was done with this game. He will willingly die for the core. Sets up a double stun away from the Akabane ulti. 2 people drop in an instant, and they managed to come away with the win. Go dethrone GameWard.